Hello children, this is your Rupert teacher and this will be my last video which contains all the question answers because I hope you all are writing question answers in your notebook, so maybe you're facing some difficulty in framing a few answers, so I have decided to write question answers so that it will be helpful for you. And when you will go through all these question answers, you will see that I've explained almost all the answers in my videos also. So let's start. Our first question is, how does the density of a liquid or gas vary with temperature? As we all knew that when we start heating anything or when we start increasing temperature, what happened? The molecules of the substance, it may be solid, liquid or gas, start moving randomly, so the volume will increase, and when the volume will increase, naturally the density will decrease because the relationship between volume and density is inversely proportional to each other. This is the sign of inversely proportional. So let's see what I have written here. All liquids and gases expands on increasing the temperature and vice versa, except water. Only water is a fluid which shows anomalous behavior. Water has minimum volume at 4 degrees Celsius and maximum density at 4 degrees Celsius. Here anomalous behavior means on heating from 0 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius, its volume decreases while its volume increases on cooling from 4 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius. Okay? But in general, heating any liquid and gas, including solid also, except water, causes molecules to speed up and spread slightly further apart, occupying a larger volume. That results decrease in density. Density of water is maximum at 4 degrees Celsius, equal to 1 gram per centimeter cube or 1000 kg per meter cube. Okay, now our second question. A given quantity of a liquid is heated. Which of the following quantity will vary and how? Instead of memorizing any answer, you just think practically. If you have taken anything, maybe 1 liter milk, and you start heating it, what will the change in its mass, volume and density? We have to think about that. Practically think, because we are learning science, okay, where it is very easy to understand anything as an activity. When a given quantity of a liquid is heated, mass will remain same, volume increases with increase in temperature, while density, when volume will increase, then density must be decreased, as density is inversely proportional to the volume. I have shown here, this is the sign of proportionality, that density is here and volume is in denominator. So when this will increase, this will decrease. When this will decrease, this will increase. In general, we are writing this formula, see that this is equal sign, this is proportional sign. Okay. Now if the mass will increase, then density will increase, because these both are directly proportional to each other. Now next question, children. Here you may leave up to this only, that density when volume will increase, when we'll heat anything, any object, density will decrease. Okay, you may leave up to that only. This thing I have written just for explanation. Describe an experiment to determine the density of the material of a coin. Maybe this coin is made up of steel or iron or aluminium or gold or silver. So how you can measure the density of that material of a coin? You may do this at your home also. Materials required: common beam balance to measure the mass of the coin, and second thing is measuring cylinder to measure the volume of the coin. Okay, and when we will measure the mass as well as volume, then we will use this formula, that density is equals to mass upon volume. Okay, experiment and calculation. Note down following data: mass of the coin. With the help of beam balance, you just note down the mass. It may be 50 gram. I mentioned as capital M is equals to 50 gram. Then what you will do, initial volume of the water, you take maybe 30 ml of water in the measuring cylinder. Okay, 30 ml, 50 ml, whatever you want. Then what you will do, then immerse that coin inside the water. Okay, then you will see the level of water. As I have written here, volume of water when coin is inside it is equals to V2, that is 40 ml. Means what is the volume of the coin? Earlier the level of water was 30 ml, which is shown in measuring cylinder. When coin is inside it, now the level is 40 ml. It means what? Volume of coin is 10 ml, right? So I have written here same thing. Volume of coin is equals to V, that is equals to V2 minus V1, that is equals to 40 minus 30, that is 10 ml. Okay, now we are having mass as well as volume, so we will use this formula, that we will write 50 by 10, that will be the density of the material of that coin. Therefore, density of material of coin is equals to mass of coin upon volume of the coin. So it is 50 by 10, that is 5 gram per milliliter or 5 gram per centimeter cube. Okay. Next question. Describe an experiment to determine the density of a liquid. That experiment is for solid thing. Now this is for liquid. What are the materials or items required? First, that liquid, it may be milk or water or cold drink. Okay. Second thing, beam balance to measure the mass or the weight of the liquid, and beaker of 100 cc and measuring cylinder. Again we will measure the mass of the liquid or weight of the liquid, and volume of the liquid is we have to measure, and then we will divide both the thing to get the density of the liquid. So see what we have to do. Experiment and calculation by using beam balance. Weigh following things. First, weight of the empty 100 cc beaker, because as in previous question we can weigh a coin directly, but we can't weigh the liquid directly. Okay, we have to take any container, so better we have taken beaker in which its capacity is written, and that is 100 cc. So weigh the empty 100 cc beaker, maybe the weight of that beaker is 50 gram. Okay, and weight of 100 cc beaker half filled with milk. Now we half filled the milk inside that beaker. Now the weight is 96 gram. It means what is the weight of milk taken in this beaker? That is 46 gram, because 96 minus 50 is 46. So I have written mass of milk is equals to m2 minus m1, that is equals to 96 minus 50, that is 46 gram. Okay, now the same volume whatever we have taken in this beaker, we will measure the volume of this liquid. We will transfer this beaker liquid into the measuring cylinder to measure its volume. Now measure the volume of milk by using measuring cylinder, and volume of that milk we can't change, neither we will add nor we will decrease the volume. Measure this volume with the help of measuring cylinder, and that is 40 cc. So what is the density of milk? We use the value mass of milk upon volume of milk, that is 46 by 40, it is 1.15 gram per centimeter cube. Okay. Next question. What is density bottle? How is it used to find the density of a liquid? Children, you must draw diagrams. So many diagrams are given on Google or in book also. You may copy that diagram or this one also. Here is the whole glass stopper, and this is a glass bottle. Okay, and in every density bottle its capacity is written. Mostly it is of 25 ml or of 50 ml. Okay, density bottle is a small glass bottle having a glass stopper at its neck. Capacity of density bottle is fixed, that is volume filled up to its higher limit is fixed, mostly 25 ml or 50 ml. Try to understand. If the capacity of this density bottle is 50 ml, what does it mean? When you will fill it completely after even after using glass stopper, whichever liquid is inside it, it may be water, it may be wine, it may be alcohol, it may be kerosene oil, volume will be same because its capacity is 50 ml. So if you fill it completely, so the quantity, any liquid whichever you have filled up to the brim, that is equals to 50 ml. Okay, now stopper has a narrow hole. Through it, when bottle is filled with liquid and stopper is inserted, the excess liquid rises through the hole and drains out. Thus the bottle will contain same volume of the liquid each time when it is filled. It is used to determine the density of a liquid. I have explained detailed activity in my video, I think video number 3 and 4. Please go through that. Now next question, define the term relative density of a substance. Relative, as already I have explained you, that relative density of a substance is the ratio of density of any substance to the density of the water at 4 degrees Celsius. Then the formula will be RD, that is relative density is equals to density of substance upon density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. Or we may calculate it with the help of mass also. In that situation, what is the definition? Relative density of a substance is ratio of mass of the substance to the mass of equal volume of water at 4 degrees Celsius. Therefore, RD is equals to what? Mass of any substance upon mass of equal volume of water at 4 degrees Celsius. There is no unit of relative density since it is a pure ratio. That thing also I've explained during numerical. You go through that, children, in the video in which I have solved the numericals of this chapter. Explain the meaning of the statement relative density of aluminium is 2.7. In my numerical part also, there I have done something with this type of question. Kindly go through that. The statement relative density of aluminium is 2.7 means a piece of aluminium of any volume has mass 2.7 times that of an equal volume of water, which means aluminium is 2.7 times, this is not 27, this is 2.7 times heavier than water for equal volume. For example, you may think that if you have taken 1000 milliliter of water, that is 1000 centimeter cube water, and 1000 centimeter cube aluminium, and mass of that is maybe 1000 kg, of water is 1000 kg. Okay, then mass of aluminium of same volume will be 1000 into 27, it means 27,000 kg. If you're taking a small volume, that is maybe 1 centimeter cube water and 1 centimeter cube aluminium, then weight of 1 centimeter cube water is maybe 1 gram, then weight of 1 centimeter cube aluminium will be 2.7 gram. You got it? For same volume, the mass of aluminium is just 2.7 times as compared to the water. That is the meaning of this line. Fine, children? Now, what is the difference between density and relative density? It is ratio of mass and volume. You better know this formula. Density is equals to mass upon volume. And what is the formula of this one? It is the ratio of density of substance to density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. You may write as formula also. Unit of density is gram per centimeter cube or kg per meter cube. It has no unit because it is a pure quantity. Density is kg per meter cube is equals to density in, this is not is, density in kg per meter cube is equals to relative density into 1000, and relative density is equals to what? Density in gram per centimeter cube, or if you want to measure it in kg, then with the help of kg per meter cube, then RD with the help of this one, this will go on there. So RD is density in kg per meter cube upon 1000. Now next question, how does the density of a body and that of a liquid determine whether the body will float or sink into that liquid? As I told you, children, earlier also, say this is a liquid, okay, and here is a body. If the density of liquid is more as compared to the density of the body, if density of liquid is more as compared to density of the body, then it will float. While if density of liquid is less than the body, then less than the density of the body, then what happen? Then the body will sink, right? If the density of a body is less, this is the keyword of this answer. If the density of body is less than the density of liquid, the body will float on the surface of the liquid, while if the density of body is more than the density of liquid, the body will sink in the liquid. Next question, what is the law of flotation? When a body floats in a liquid, the weight of the liquid displaced by its immersed part is equal to the total weight of the body. This is the law of flotation. That is, while floating, weight of the floating body is equals to what? Weight of the liquid displaced by its immersed part. Maybe wholly immersed or partially immersed, okay? Now next question. The diagram given below show a body floating in three different liquids A, B and C at different levels. You see children, liquid A, liquid B, liquid C. Can you see most of the part is under the water surface. Only a small part is above the water surface. Here half part is inside the water, half part is above the water. Here a small part is inside the water. So before going to sub question, first of all try to understand what is going on. This liquid density is highest, that's why only small part is immersed, and liquid and density is lesser than C and least density of this liquid. Okay, all are floating. Okay, not a single one is synced. So see the first question, in which liquid does the body experience the greatest buoyant force? Answer is, we know that buoyant force is equals to what? Weight of the liquid displaced by immersed part of the body. So in every case buoyant force is equal. Okay, how? And here in each liquid body floats at its surface, so buoyant force is same in each case. Question number B, which liquid has the least density? As I told you, liquid A has least density. The liquid A has the least density as body immerses the maximum. And next question was, which liquid has the highest density? Liquid C has the highest density as the body immerses the least. For a floating body, next question, how is its weight related to the buoyant force? When a body floats in a liquid, the weight of the liquid displaced by its immersed part is equal to the total weight of the body. That is the relation between weight and buoyant force. Why does a piece of ice float on water? As we know that density of ice is 0.9 gram per centimeter cube, already explained in videos also, while density of liquid water is 1 gram per centimeter cube, and we know that 0.9 is less than 1. So density of ice is less than the density of liquid water, hence ice floats on water. Explain why it is easier to lift a stone underwater than in air. You just think you are holding some stone and your friend came to help you, then it is easy to hold the stone because your friend is also helping you, supporting you. Okay, he or she is countering the weight of the stone. Same thing happened here inside the water. In water the stone experiences a buoyant force, okay, which counterbalance the weight of the stone acting downward, and this makes the stone lighter and thus easier to lift stone in water. Now explain why an iron needle sinks in water but a ship made of iron floats on water. This question already I've explained in video also, but written just for the help of students so that they can make answer, they can frame the answer. Density of iron is more than density of water. Weight of iron nail is more than weight of water displaced, because size of nail is very small, so it will displace very little quantity of water. That's why written weight of water displaced by it, and that's why nail sinks. You got that? Try to understand this word. Weight of iron nail is more than weight of water displaced by it, and that's why nail sinks. While shape of iron ship is made in such a way that it displaces more weight of water than its own weight. That is the first reason. Secondly, the ship is hollow and the empty space contains air, which makes the average density of ship less than that of water, and hence ship floats on water. It is easier to swim in, these are the reasoning questions. Okay, it is easier to swim in sea water than in river water. Explain the reason. We know that sea water contains different types of dissolved salts, which increases its average density as compared to the density of river water. In both type of water, weight of water displaced by man is equal. Therefore, with smaller portion of man's body submerged in sea water, the weight of sea water displaced is equal to the total weight of the body. On the other hand, to displace the same weight of the river water, a larger portion of the body will have to be submerged in water, hence it is easier for man to swim in sea water as compared to river water. Okay, now next question. Icebergs floating on sea water are dangerous for ships. Explain the reason. Icebergs are very dangerous for ships. These are huge pieces of ice floating in sea. As density of ice is 0.917 gram per centimeter cube, in general we are writing approx 0.9. Okay, only 1/10 portion of its original size is above the surface of water, which is visible, while 9 by 10 part is underwater surface. So it is very dangerous for ships, because if ship will hit it, then there will be no chance that anyone or anything will left there. So it means that ship will be completely, must be completely destroyed if it will hit any iceberg, because these icebergs are huge in size. Okay, children. Now next question. What is submarine? How can it be made to dive in water and come to the surface of water? Again, this question I have explained in the video. Go through that before reading this answer. Submarine is a water height body, or we may consider it as a warship, because it is especially used for war, with a streamlined body, completely immersed in the sea for long periods, equipped with a periscope and typically armed with weapons. It is provided with water tanks. When submarine is to dive, water is filled in water tanks and it is made heavier, so that average density of submarine becomes greater than the density of seawater and it sinks. While to make the submarine rise to the surface of water, water tanks are emptied and average density of, with the help of pump, these tanks are emptied, children, and average density of submarine becomes less than the density of the seawater and it is rises to the surface of water. While submarine is underwater, soldiers can see the enemy activity through periscope. So here your question answer as well as your chapter is over, children. Very soon we will meet with something new. Till then, bye bye and take care.